Sometimes it's fun to try something unorthodox just to see if it works. Obviously, we know about a lot of the game's abilities, but it doesn't mean we've tried to make gameplay revolve around those abilities. With this video, I'm going to look at the viability of playing a really slimy Moocher Klepto sim. He has the gregarious bonus trait taken by picking any social aspiration on creation. I take Kleptomaniac for the ability to steal, self-assured for random confidence boosts, and the outgoing trait to make him better at socializing across the board. I've built him a little house with only the basics. 4 walls and a roof is definitely not a common choice among Sims players who, despite their talent, fail to see the greatness of this rare design. Someday I'll make a guide to the intuitive box design. Such an inspired layout, especially if you want your house to look like a small town community center. Note here that I'm also picking lot traits. I've chosen to make his home lot convivial. It's one of those things that once the devs have put it into the game makes you feel silly not to use it. A 50% boost to charisma when I'm leveling that skill is impossible for me to pass up, especially when I'm strapped for time and cash. It's also homey, which affects cooking and mixology, though we won't use those much. The downside of these bonuses is that they surround your Sim's head with little bonus symbols every time they use a skill that's affected by them. Get Sims in the ideal mood with all these bonuses and they level about double the usual rate. Bella and Mortimer Goth come in true welcome wagon style and interrupt my skilling. I decide I'll go ahead and work on relationship with them and max out the social need. Outgoing Sims are really needy when it comes to socializing. It's the only downside to that trait. I want to case their place to look for stuff to steal. The best way to get them to move to another location is to use the actions menu when you click on a Sim. You can then hit invite to and choose the Sims to travel with and where to travel. Nothing of value is to be found for now. I'd forgotten that Kleptomaniac is tied to the mischief skill. You can only take small decorative items at first. Later I'll revisit this and do a guide just on Klepto and when various things unlock, though we'll be back to steal things later. We'll see how mooching does on its own, because stealing 100 simoleon item once every 4 hours and the fact you'll run out of objects isn't enough to live on. While I use a few mischief socials for easy experience, I also practice my head games and ask Mortimer to show off his swimwear. Both he and the wife are fine with this behavior. The Goths do not own a pool. Wrapping up the visit, and with my first of many marks identified, I send my Sim to practice charisma using a mirror and capitalize on those bonuses to charisma skill gains. It takes a couple of days to reach level 7, which is very fast. I wish I had realized the fact about mischief earlier in this process, because convivial boosts it as well. At level 7 charisma, Sims get the ability to ask for a small loan. You can only ask a Sim once, then you owe them and cannot borrow again unless you repay. As you can see, a small loan in the Sims world is 500 simoleons. The success rate for this ability, like many others, is based upon how well you know the other Sim and moods of both Sims involved. You'll do better at asking when confident, happy, or in any positive mood really, and they'll be more receptive to the proposal if they're happy as well. To boost your odds of success, use charismatic socials like Brighten Day, Flatter, Compliment Outfit to get the Sim into a happier mood. If they're fine, which is neutral, it's quite easy to make them happy instead. Despite your efforts, you will inevitably fail, sometimes multiple times. You can simply do a few more socials to recover what was lost by the rejection and to keep the conversation fresh, and try again. Now that you have this ability, you can ask about any Sim for a loan, not just friends. I was able to do this with the friendship bar as low as 20%, but it seemed to get better over 30%. While you can only ask once without repaying, when you get the large loan ability, you can ask a second time. The two loans are separate entities. The large loan that unlocks at level 9 is 2,000 simoleons, but has a higher chance of rejection, of course. Combine these two and you can borrow 2,500 simoleons from every adult sim that you meet. The power of high-level charisma cannot be overstated, especially when you combine it with good mood management to further boost your sim's chances. Here, my sim manages to seduce an alien sim right off the street thanks to his charm. That is to say that you can be flirty and not just friendly when attempting to borrow money that you never intend to repay. Can I borrow 2,000 simoleons? Why, thank you. I promise I'll get you back next week. Let's not forget it's neighborhood brawl day. You and I, we're just great for one another. But I forgot, I need medicine, and I need another 500 on top of what you gave me earlier. Do me this favor and I promise you'll never hear from me again. That whole sequence was nuts. Seduction, woohoo, borrow, fight, woohoo, borrow. What an afternoon for a con man. The problem is, the playstyle has so much repetition. As you can see from my visit to the Love Fest, I start to hit sims up for 2,000 each time, and it's much more worth my time. I went very late with near max needs and continually asked sims for loans. I made a lot of simoleons, but every single 2,000 required me to click about 20 times. You're just going through the pie menu over and over, queuing up socials. I don't know what would happen long term, but assume with aging you would get fresh suckers in the world to borrow from. I wish the EA had introduced a major relationship penalty to not repaying these loans. A week is several years in sim time after all. I didn't see anything happen as a result of my negligence. It just blocks me from borrowing more. Let me give you a tip in case you attempt this someday. If your sim is in a rotten mood and can't get the target out of their own rotten mood, back off and try another time. Relationships tend to stall at times like those because every other attempt at being friendly is rejected. You get nowhere on the friendship meter. I did 40 socials in a row on a sim in a case like this and didn't get to borrow money. You, on the other hand, very well may. These are random numbers we're dealing with, but the success rates for borrow are low enough that those moods trash it. I did ultimately come up with 30,000 from my borrowing spree with no other sources of income. Now just a quick look at Klepto. As the level rises, the options open up. At level 5, you start to see progress. You can start to steal things that's actually worth 1,000 or more retail, such as the ship model in the Goth's house. At max level, priceless art can be stolen, stuff that is easily worth 4,000 in buy mode. The devs did something kind of cool and unique with this trait by tying it to the mischief skill. There isn't another trait like that as far as I can remember. It's clear that combined with being a mooch, you could make some great money getting involved in mischief as long as you have Kleptomaniac as well. The two sort of go hand in hand because they both drain a resource. Your ability to borrow and Sim's belongings will slowly vanish from the world while you do your dirty deeds. Well, this has been a fun topic to cover. I'll try to do a variety and not stick with just serious skill guides. Subscribe and like my work if you feel it's quality content. You can support us via Patreon. A link is in the description. Thank you for watching.